My name is Brian Watkins, and this is the video tutorial for our 8th project, which will be a direct labor variance analysis. Now that you're all experts, we're going to throw a little bit more at you. So let's do the direct labor variance analysis prepared by and prepared on, and today is March 31st, 2012. This spreadsheet will track labor cost and efficiency variances for a calendar year using standard costing and efficiency, calculating variances based on actual data. Alright, we're going to have a pretty large spreadsheet, so I'll come back to line 4 and see if we need to change that at a later point. Let's put a title here: Total Direct Labor Variance Report for the year ending 2000, let's just say 2011. Alright, now variances are something that you'll hit when you have managerial accounting classes, or if you don't go on in accounting, you'll learn that in any process in a company or in a business, the efficiency experts will come in and they'll figure out what it should cost, and then you're going to track what it actually costs to see how to improve your business. This is done at various levels and degrees depending on the sophistication of the operation, but it can be kind of tricky for a novice to understand how these are being calculated, even though the math is not complicated. So just follow along, we'll get there. Budgeted direct labor costs, and the budget is probably the easiest thing to come up with. Let's see, August, September, October, November, December. Let's do this many. We'll give that a, let's give that a green, give it our border. Okay, now when you budget your costs, there's a term called standard costing. Standard and budget mean the same thing. It's basically what you think this is going to cost you. So we're going to have a standard hourly housekeeping rate. Okay, in order to measure the efficiency of any business, we have to make certain guesses about how much it's going to cost us to run that business. Now, before we get too far, let's go, I showed you this before, and let's widen our columns just a bit. Let's go to an 11 for now. And our standard rate, let's say we can probably, we can find somebody at $8.50 over here on the north shore of our island to run our hotel. I'm going to put an X here, and this is going to just kind of help us see, well, I'm going to have to put that on the other side, there we go, that it's the standard rate times the standard hours per room, and let's just say it takes us 0.9 of an hour to clean one of these hotel rooms. Let's make them match here. So we have currency and make that match. Alright, so if we have the standard rate and the standard number of hours, that gives us, let's move that over here, the standard per room labor costs. Alright, let's use our nice title format that we used from the last project, and our math is simply going to be the 850 times 90. But we're going to give our names first. Trust me, the names are going to come in very handy figuring out what's going on here. So let's just go to the formulas. We're going to give it here standard hourly rate. Oh, and I'm in the wrong place, aren't I? Okay, well, you know what to do there. You go into Name Manager, and we're going to edit this. We don't want it in E12, we want it in E10. There we go. Making the mistakes so you know what to do. And then this is going to be standard hours per room. Okay, and then obviously this times this. Now, that tells us for each hotel room in our hotel how much we think it's going to cost to clean it. Alright, these are user entered, so we're going to give them our green. That's calculated, and then the other piece of information is going to be the total number of rooms. That's not going to change a whole lot unless you make some big, let's say we've got 200 rooms, sounds good. And that is also user entered, and let's give it a name. This would be the total rooms. Okay, there's our budgeted direct labor costs. So our next section is going to be our actual direct labor costs. Actual direct labor costs. And let's go out here. I'm just putting my color in my box if you can't see it. There's the color. And here's my box. Okay, my actual costs, let's call it the actual labor hourly rate. Okay, now, here's where life gets complicated. As you run any business, you would love to have your budget be reality, but it rarely is. Sometimes you'll be able to find labor cheaper, and other times it'll be more expensive. So the long and short of it is you're going to keep track of the differences between the two. So you're going to have an actual hourly rate. Let's put our symbols here, and I'm having a difficult time with that. Let's slide those over to the far side. So we have the actual labor rate, and then we have the actual hours per room, and we have the actual total labor cost per room. So you're hard to have a variance unless you have an actual and a budgeted to compare. So let's go in here, and we're going to come up with our actual labor hourly rate. Let's just for now say that it's 9. Let's put that as a comma. And let's say our actual hours per room, let's say it took an hour. And then we're going to have our actual total labor cost, which is going to be this times this. But let's give it a name first. This is going to be our actual labor hourly rates. Actual labor hourly rate. And this will be our actual hours per room. Okay, be as descriptive as you can with these variable names, because that will save you a lot of time later. So this is not actual cost per room, this is just the actual hours and the rate. So now let's do our calculation. So actual rate times actual hours, and then this number here, let's see, did we use currency? Let's do that. Currency. Be consistent, right? Okay. So this number here we will call our actual costs per room. So now we have a standard cost per room. Let's name this standard cost per room. And we have an actual cost per room. Both of these are going to be user entered, so we'll keep that clear. And so that is half of our data. Now we're in a big hotel, And what happens in big hotels? We have total rooms. That's obviously not going to change much, so we can just take our total room. And we're going to have, let's see here, let's put an X and an equal. We'll slide these over to the side. All right, total rooms times occupancy percentage times number of days, because we're going to be doing a monthly budget analysis, and each month has different days, as you know. And that will give us total rooms cleaned. All right, so let's go here and let's name this one. This will be our occupancy percent. This will be days in month, and this will be the most important of them all. Let's put it in the right place. The total, all over the place here. Let's just go back, change that. Total rooms cleaned. Okay, so let's just say our occupancy percentage is 95% for that month, and this is going to be January. Let's just put that up here while we're thinking about it. January, center it, and the number of days in January are 31, and so we'll do our top bottom, and this formula should be quite easy. It's about time we had some easy formulas. I know you're all saying that. Total rooms. Oh heavens, we didn't name total rooms. So we'll go back. I think I named it up here. So total rooms times occupancy percent times number of days. Did I not tell it days in month? Well, let's go check. All right. Now, when you're doing your names, here's a little trick for you. Anywhere in these, if I double click, it will highlight the entire variable, and then I can go over to my use in formula, and I can pick up what I want. So I want to change this E24, and E24 should be the number of days in the month, which I was pretty sure that we had done. I guess it didn't come up. All right, so we'll go back and we'll do days in month. All right, now days in month is there, so I highlight the formula, I click on that E24, and then I go days in month. Okay, and we want a comma here, and please, the total rooms cleaned, because of percentages, if that were like 90, 93%, that's a possibility. You could even have a decimal point in this calculation, but we don't clean half rooms. So let's get rid of those decimals. Let's just make that a nice number with a comma. There we go. And it's, so we have the total rooms, occupancy rate, number of days. Now you can see that we've got 5,890 rooms cleaned in that hotel in a month, and that's going to magnify the effects of everything that's going on. So what we want to do as good managers is we want to see how this information, we want a visual report that we can read to tell us how our housekeeping staff is doing. Are they doing the job more expensively, or are they doing it more efficiently? So we're going to have the variance summary report, and we're going to demonstrate our variances as a positive number for a favorable variance, and unfavorable we will show as a negative number. And again, just going off the screen a tad here, but that is the color bar. So yeah, that's fine. And we've got our border. All right. Now for the tricky stuff. So the first part of our variance report is going to be simply the actual compared to the budgeted. So we have an actual total labor cost and a budgeted total labor cost. And this again is going to be in the month of January. So let's just format that here while we're working on it. Go back, center please, centered. All right, we calculate our actual total labor cost, and what you would assume the easy way to do it would be to take our actual total labor cost per room and multiply it times the actual rooms cleaned. And it's giving me total, oh, I know what's going on here. Okay, another mistake to learn from. We have got a variable problem. So we're going to come up here, and it looks like I defined the total rooms twice. So let's take that one out. Alright, and while we're in there, let's look for any more doubles. I'm not seeing any. Good. Okay, so let's do it again. Our actual total cost is our actual cost per room times our total rooms cleaned. Alright, take a look at that formula, commit it. There we go, and let's put that in a just an accounting format. Now our budgeted total labor cost, you can imagine, is the same thing, only you're going to look at the budgeted per room. And the budgeted per room, standard cost times the total rooms cleaned. And let's give that our accounting. And we're going to have the variance right there. And so now we have calculated the total direct labor variance. Now here, in order to get the report to be a positive number for favorable and a negative for unfavorable, we're not going to subtract the bottom from the top. Rather, we're going to subtract the top from the bottom. So we're going to just do our simple this less this. Okay, and that gives us, it looks like we had an unfavorable direct labor variance. So what does that mean? That means we spent $7,951.50 more to clean our rooms in our hotel in January than we budgeted. And if this were the end of our assignment, everybody'd be happy because it looks really easy. But variances come in two flavors. You have a variance that results from the change in the rate, and you have a variance that results from the change in the efficiency. Efficiency is measured by the difference between the standard hours it takes to clean a room, which we budgeted 0.9, and it looks like this month it was actually 1 hour per room. So we're going to have to track both of those. So let's start with the direct labor rate variance, and then there'll be a direct labor efficiency variance, and those two combined will result in our total direct labor variance, which will be exactly the same number. And so our check figure down here needs to only compare the two totals that we come up with. This is going to be the trickiest part of the entire project for most students. I find that late night preparations typically result in confusion here over how to calculate these two variances. The rate variance is calculated by taking the standard rate minus the actual rate. Okay, so we're going to take here and do the standard rate minus, sorry, I just did it backwards, the standard rate minus the actual rate. Okay, and the difference between those two rates, in order to calculate, we're going to multiply times the actual hours per room. Okay, and the actual hours per room, and then we have to multiply the whole thing again times the total rooms cleaned. So write that formula down. Write down that we're at 20 minutes in the video so that you can come right back and study that the direct labor variance consists of the standard rate minus the actual rate times the actual hours. And then you take that whole thing and multiply it times the total rooms cleaned. That's your direct labor rate variance. Okay, let's make that our accounting format. The direct labor efficiency variance, on the other hand, we're going to take and we're going to use the standard hours per room minus the actual hours per room. Put those in parentheses. I'm fighting with Excel here. It doesn't like it. Okay, so we have that in parentheses. And this time, we're going to multiply it times the standard rate. Okay, not the actual rate, so standard rate. And then we're going to take the whole thing again times the total rooms cleaned. So I'm going to keep that up there on the screen. Standard hours per room minus the actual hours per room times the standard or budgeted rate, and then multiply that whole thing times the total rooms cleaned. That will give you your direct labor efficiency variance. Okay, we'll commit that. So we put that up into accounting, and then you remember that our total variance is going to be the combination of the rate and the efficiency variance. So let's come down here and let's add this direct labor variance plus our labor efficiency variance, and together they equal the total labor variance. And our check figure is essentially just designed to take the one and subtract the other one, and if our check figure disappears, that means we did it right. So that is all the math in this project. So let's take a moment and review what's going on here. Okay, what we've done is we've started with a standard rate and a standard amount of time to clean a room, and that comes up with a standard amount per room. We take the standard amount and we're going to compare it against an actual amount per room, and we're going to create two different variances. The first being the rate variance. The rate variance is the standard rate minus the actual rate, but you're going to compare it, you're going to multiply it times the actual hours per room. And then you're going to multiply the whole thing times the total rooms cleaned. Okay, so the rate variance is the difference between standard and actual rate times the actual hours. Now the efficiency variance is the standard hours minus actual hours times the standard hours. So what you're doing is you're taking the two variables here and you're splitting them out, and you're trying to figure out of the total variance, which in this case it looks like it was just about $8,000, how much of it was because our rate was too high and how much of it was because our people were not efficient. That's what you're doing here. Now before you go on and complete your project, check your math. Make sure you're doing the right thing. The easiest way to do that is to go and set your actual rate exactly the same as your budgeted rate. So think about it. If my actual rate is going to be the same as my standard rate, then my rate variance, which is right here, should disappear. And it does. So that means there's no variance between my actual and my standard rate. So if there is any variance here, and there's 5,000 unfavorable, that was all attributed to the fact that I was inefficient, that my people took 1 hour to clean each room instead of 0.9 hours to clean the room. So now let's put this back. Let's put it back to 9. But let's say that our people were more efficient and they cleaned it at 0.9. So the minute I commit this, then my efficiency variance should disappear. And it does. So there really is no excuse for turning in a spreadsheet that has math errors, because it's easy to check this. So now that you've checked your math and you're ready to go, let's finish this up. Now it's going to be a spreadsheet for all the months, so we can put February there. And remember, Excel is pretty smart. So if I take my highlight my January, February, click on the fill bar here and pull it across. March, April, May. You see it's figuring it out automatically. And we're just going to go right to December. It preserved my formatting. Saved a bunch of time there. Let's do the same right here. Let's just type February. Actually, we do it an even quicker way. We can just take this and we can cut it and we can paste it. So now we have all of our months. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to copy our rates across. So we'll copy that. And we're going to take the, let's just take the whole thing over at once. So we'll copy and we'll paste. Great, that's all done. Now let's do the same for our variance report. Don't forget the check figure. Alright, there are all my numbers. Now, you will be thinking, if you're following closely, I used some terms in these calculations. And those terms, actual cost per room, total rooms cleaned, were absolute references. You remember the difference between your absolute and your relative references. And so naturally, all my numbers are going to be the same. And if I do, let's just go over to February and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You see those two numbers, the actual total labor cost and total rooms clean, it's looking over to January. So I need to do something. And what I need to do is I need to change my reference on my actual numbers, because my actual numbers are going to be different in each month. So remove the arrows. My standard numbers, see that rate? That applies to every single month. If I show you, that rate can go to each month. I don't want that one to change. I want that one to stay the same. But I do want these actuals to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my name manager and I'm going to look at the actual cost per room. I'm going to edit it. And I'm going to tell it that it can change its column. Okay, E is the column. And by taking out the dollar sign, I now make actual cost per room a relative reference. I'll close that. And so let's see here. Now if I copy this formula and I copy it back across, I should be able to look at my precedents. Oh, it went half right. How about that? Oh, that's because I've only redone the one variable. But what it did is it now shifts that actual cost per room, the one that we fixed, it's shifted over to February. And I should be able to go to any one of these and it will point to the correct actual cost. But I need to change that total rooms cleaned variable. That's not correct. So we'll remove the arrows, we'll go and we'll look at total rooms cleaned and we'll edit, and we're going to take the dollar sign off the E. So now that can change. Close. And we're going to have to, let's just do the whole thing over again. It's just as easy to do it that way as any other way. And so we'll bring that all back and paste it. And it still doesn't like it. Okay, what did we do? Actual costs per room. Copy and paste. Okay, let's take a look here. Trace precedence. Oh, okay. When we copied it, the relative reference went back to here. So we're going to have to go back to total rooms cleaned. Let's go up to our formulas. Total rooms cleaned. Oh, there. That's an error. somehow it totally changed to IT. We want that to be E. Okay, what came up here was this a yes. Okay, so for some reason I must have done something wrong when I changed that across. So that was the actual cost per room and total rooms cleaned. Before we do any more copying, let's just clean the whole mess up. So our budgeted standard cost, that shouldn't be a problem. And down here we're going to need to do standard actual labor hourly rate. So that's going to need to change. I think we did actual hours. So let's go up and we're going to change actual labor hourly rate. Actual labor hourly rate, edit, and we're going to take off the dollar sign. So this is just E18. Hit OK, and while we're here we can see if there's any other problems. Okay, there are several problems. Oh, that's because we're in G. Okay, so I should change this to G. That's the problem. Watch out for the column that you're active in when you invoke the name manager. So we'll do G. And it's saying, do you save changes? Yes. So just so we don't confuse everybody, let's highlight this column, go back to name manager, and what we need to make sure is that our actual labor hourly rate has been changed to a mixed reference. So we go to actual labor hourly rate. Yes, it's now a mixed reference. The column is relative. Actual hours per room. No, we need to edit that one. So we're going to make the column relative. Remember what you're doing. This is just saying that forever and ever this variable will refer to row 19. That's fixed. It can't change because of the dollar sign. But if I copy my formula over by a column, it will change the column along with me. That's what taking the dollar sign does, or taking it off does. Okay, so now I have the actual costs, hours, and labor rate removed, and I need the total rooms cleaned. Good. Now I should be able to copy this. So I've selected the column. I hit Control C. Okay, now we're going to copy it and fill in the table. Control V. Alright, so everything should be good, and we can pick any one of these and we can see what's going on. Look, that's perfect. So our budgeted went there. Let's look at the top. Perfect. Alright, and that one uses both. And that one uses both. Good. Alright, so everything is set up, and now looks like this percentage here, which is going to be user entered, needs to be blue as well. Make sure we get the right blue. I'm going to teach you a new function, and this function is called the rand between function. And what it does is it allows you to choose a random number. Now we're doing a project, I'm going to do a graph in a minute, and we want to have different numbers all the way along this graph. In order to get those different numbers and not have you typing, here is the formula to use. And we're going to do it. It's called rand between, and it's a random number between a certain range. And the range, this is kind of frustrating for some students, but the range can't have decimals in it. The range has to be whole numbers. So what I'm looking for the actual hourly rate on labor is something that would swing $1 up and $1 down from your standard rate. Okay, that in the real world it may be less, it may be more, but just for purposes of doing this, I want something that would be between $7.50 and $9.50. That's the range I want my random number to pop up in. But because the rand between function only works with whole numbers, I now have to put the decimal place back. The way I do that is I multiply it times 0.01. So essentially what's going on there is I'm trying to create ranges of random hourly rates for this that goes between 750 on the low and 950 on the high. See, the first random it spit out was $7.83. And so I'm going to copy that, and I'm just going to fill in all my data. And so now every time I do a calculation, these numbers will change, and they will be perfectly random, and they will allow us to actually have a chart that doesn't look boring. So let's just now do the actual hours per room. Our actual hours, our standard was 0.9, so let's do a rand between that would be anywhere, rand between, how about 70 and 110? Looks good. And in order to put the decimal place back in so that it's 0.7 to 1.1, I multiply it times 0.01. So that gave me a 0.76 there. We'll copy that. And so now I have good random data for my actual hourly rate and my actual hours per room. Next thing you're going to change would be the occupancy percentage. So again, rand between, something's not up, rand between. And do some thinking here. A hotel is never going to be 110% occupied, so let's just do 80% to 100%. And again, you have to put the decimal place back, 0.01. Okay, so that changed to 85. Good. We'll copy that formula across. So now we have the rates, the room. Last thing to fix would be our months. So January, and if you're not familiar with your months, learn that trick with your knuckles. Ask me sometime, I'll show you. February is 28, March is 31, April is 30, May is 31, June is 30, let's do it backwards there, September is 30, July, August, September, October, November, and December. And I'm trying to think of what's going on with that number over here. Oh, we're not wide enough. Okay, so let's just double click on the sides here where you need to make them just a little bit wider. And you notice every time I'm clicking, my numbers are recalculating. That's because of that random number function. Every time you calculate, that will change. So we're just gonna, let's highlight them all. I think we gave it an 11, so we're going to do a column width of 12. That looks like it cleared it up. Okay, so now we have good random numbers. Something's odd here. Oh, we didn't fix up, okay. We didn't fix up the total room occupancy and percent days of the month. Yeah, watch out for this. What I'm hoping you learn from this example of our spreadsheet is how to go through and just kind of check your work as you go along. Total rooms cleaned. Total rooms occupancy and days in month are going to have to change. So let's go to our formulas and our name manager. And are we in E? Good, we're in E. So total rooms, we'll edit that. Total rooms refers to E13. That's our main. We don't need to edit that, sorry. So total rooms cleaned, that is going to be referenced below, so we'll edit. We'll take out, no, it looks like we already did. So total rooms, days and months is going to change. Close. Do I want to save changes? Let me show you what I'm looking at there. Yes, I do. Occupancy percentage needs to change. So we'll edit that. Take that one there. And let's look at our formula now. And you can use any one of these tools. Let's go down here and look at our precedents. Alright, and let's change over here and look at our precedent. And here. So now we're good. Everything's fine. What I'm hoping you'll get in the habit of doing is just learn how to audit your name manager. Make sure your variables are correct. So that changed our total rooms cleaned. Looks like they've all changed. And our data looks good. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to prepare a graph. Now to prepare a graph of our variances, let's take these labels here. We're going to want those in our graph. And we're going to take these 3 lines of data, which is all 3 of our variances, and we're going to insert a line chart. Just pick the first one here. And the line chart pops up. Looks like this. Now we can make it look a lot better. So let's squeeze it out a bit. Give it a little more depth. Alright, now we're going to practice editing our charts. That's your raw chart. And again, you can rewind to see what I did, but I highlighted the variables, came across, and just insert the chart. So when we click on the data ranges, we can select the data in the chart, and now we can clean it up. So the first thing we need to clean up are the horizontal axis labels. You can see now they're just numbers, and we want the months in there. So we're going to edit our horizontal axis. I'm going to take, and we're just going to highlight all of our months. Hit OK. And that takes us January through December. Now we've got to move these lines over. What happened there? When we highlighted to make the graph, there were these 2 empty columns that Excel interpreted as data points. So the easy way to get rid of that, we'll go to our data, and we're going to edit each of our ranges. So we'll start with the labor rate range. The series name is direct labor. That's good. We don't want to change that. But the values are going to start in January. And we're just going to highlight over to December. Hit OK. And so now, if we look, the direct labor variance, which is blue line, has shifted over to January. We're going to do the same for the efficiency. We're going to keep the name. We're just going to check the values. Take the values to December. OK. Now the red line has shifted back. And we're going to edit the total. Keep the name, go to the values, and take your series. And when we did that, it got rid of those blanks, turned everything nice for us. Now the next thing that we can do is to put some labels on it. And if we go up here to chart layouts, it gives you certain kinds of labels. Let's just click on layout 1. Alright, and let's name our axis. If I click on the words, I can get into the edit mode and put a cursor in there. And I'm going to change that one to dollars. And then this chart title, I want to show you a little trick. So we click on it, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to go up to the very top. I'm going to bring that chart along with me here so you can see what's going on. I click on the title, and with the title box in place, go to the formula bar, click on the formula bar, put in equals, and then go to the cell A6. Watch what happens here. You can insert a reference to a cell. So I've clicked on cell A6, and when I hit enter, it pops into my chart title. So whatever I put in cell A6 now is going to be the title of my chart. So let's put the chart back down where we want it. Okay, there's our chart down at the bottom of the page. I think everything looks good. Let's just run our spell check. Too many of you are not running spell checks. Just go to review, spelling, and you can't see this, but it said spelling check is complete. That's good. I don't think I need to change my row 4 line. That looks good. I'm going to click outside of this. Let's bring this down. Okay, I'm going to click outside of the chart box. That drops the chart and puts me back in edit mode for my spreadsheet. So I click here. I'll move the video back up. We need to go to page layout. I need to make sure I put my footer in. So my custom footer with my file path. Okay. Okay, and I think we have it. I think you've got a good... Oh, I put a page break on there. So let's get rid of the page break. Pet peeve. So if you go to Options, go to Advanced, and come down here to Display. Let's see where it is. Display options for this worksheet. Undo page breaks. Now I don't have those lines there. But this is the direct labor variance analysis. Most important thing we've done in this project is to teach you how you can use the name manager to set some of your named variables with relative references and some with absolute. And again, I'll show you that standard rate applies to every formula in every month. So if I click on that and I show the dependents, that one cell goes everywhere. But when it comes to calculating actual rates, I don't want that cell to go anywhere outside of January. I want it to stay in January. And it does. And so each one of these cells does the same thing now. And the way I did that was simply by taking that $sign off of the front of the reference. You edit it, come down to the edit box, and take the $sign out. And then your named variable can change. When you copy from one column to the next, the column will change, the row will not. Second thing we learned that you'll be expected to prepare on your examination is the chart. Learn how to edit your data. Learn how to impose the or to include the chart titles, the axis titles, to edit your axis in the actual chart itself. And just to show you again how that's done, you click in the chart, you right click inside the data, and you hit select data, and this is where your data sources come from. And you can edit each range, and when you edit, you can either edit the name of the series or the values in the series. Okay, you can edit the horizontal labels. So charts are infinitely, I mean, there's a million and one things you can do with a chart. You can, it's just unlimited. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. But I hope that this trick of using the name here, for example, if I change this to the year ending 2012, then you'll see that it automatically showed up in my chart. So that's an active chart reference. That's our project. So remember, when you are going to commit to your formulas, to double check your rate variance is the standard rate minus actual rate times actual hours. Your efficiency is standard hours minus actual hours times standard rate. Don't confuse those. And remember how I showed you you can check them simply by setting your numbers equal. If I set my hourly rate equal to my standard rate, then this number here, the rate variance, should disappear. If I set my standard hour per room to my actual hours per room, then my efficiency should disappear. Simple math, simple typing. I think you guys can do a great job on this. Please let me know if you have any questions. Aloha!